Hello magical makers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Nicole of Woven Tales Designs. In today's video, we are setting up my calendar slash work journal, WIP journal, I don't know what you want to call it, for me to keep track of my WIPs. This is my WIP marathon where I spend January, February, and March working on getting rid of the projects in my WIP pile. If you saw my previous video, I have 9 projects that I need to tackle and hopefully complete at least 8 out of 9 before we get into the month of April. That's my goal. And I have a system. I kind of started working on my own kind of personalized system for keeping track of my projects last year, and it worked well when I kept track of it and when I kept up with it. So I think this is a new year, 2025. I'd like to continue to work on that discipline and momentum. So with that being said, I have here you saw this in the previous video. This is just like a sleeve that I made for this weekly calendar that I got at Target. So it lives in here because in my brain, if I put it somewhere special, then I won't lose it and then it will come into play later. So here we go, pulling it out here. I'm gonna write a weekly plan for myself using this format, and when I'm done with one, I'm going to show you how it looks, and then you're gonna see me write it out for the following weeks to come. So I am gonna fill this out, and how I'm gonna do this is that I am going to have a 5-day work week where Monday through Friday I work on my WIPs, and then the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, which you see there's a special slot here for the weekend, I just have open to whatever I want to work on, whether it be closing the chapter on a WIP that I'm so close to finishing, or if I want to use that free time to work on a new design of mine. Basically, I'm just leaving it open so that I'm not just disciplining myself for 5 days a week and then not having any fun all month long. I still want to enjoy myself and continue to pump Crojo into my system. So I've left Saturday and Sunday for whatever I want. I think that was a reasonable compromise for myself. So here we have it. So first things first, I'm going to write this out and then I'll show you what I have, and then I will walk you through my process if you care, and then stay tuned for the end of the video because I will kind of further explain how to make your own format, if that makes sense. Yeah, so bonus at the end of the video, I show you how to organize your own WIPs if you think this method would work for you. One day I'd love to turn this into my own printable type of weekly calendar, but I do things as they come, so I'm not always regimented, hence why I'm trying to work on my displaying myself to get through my WIPs. Anyway, so let me work on this, and I'll see you in a little bit. So I had to go back in and watch the last video to remind myself of how I listed them in the video so that it can be congruent with what you're seeing now. Because we already started in the middle of the week for January, and it's so funny that like WIP Wednesday was the first of the year, so I think that's on theme with what we're doing. It's already the 2nd as I'm recording this, the 2nd of January, but it's never too late to be disciplined, so you don't have to always like start on the 1st. So what I've done here is I have created a kind of like a checklist system. So the bottom here, and I will zoom in a little bit, but just to preface here, the bottom is where I list and spell out what each WIP is, and each WIP gets a number A through I because that's the first 9 letters of the alphabet. And then we have them listed in the column of the days of the week that we work on them, and then I just have them listed on the weekend in case I do want to keep track of like, hey, I did work on this over the weekend. Bonus points for me. It's kind of like extra credit bonus. You know, when you were a kid and you wanted to, I was that kid, I wanted to always do the extra credit because I wanted to be like, I was a people pleaser. So I have that listed on the weekend. But then I also have one extra box that I have in the checklist for if I work on a knit project, because I know myself and I know that even though I have made these rules for myself, I am probably going to get itchy hands for my knitting projects. I always have a pair of socks on my needles and kind of like a medium to large sized project on my needles. So just in case I do get that itch, I still want to record that to see how many times I am giving into that. And then if I notice that I'm doing it every single night, I will kind of check in with myself and be like, all right, this isn't that important. You don't have to work on your knit project. Just the more I work on the WIPs, the more I will have time for the projects that my hands are itching for. So it is written down there for a reason. So let me give you a close-up view of what this looks like. Now, immediately you need to forgive me because I normally write in cursive, so my handwriting, I tried to make it print so it's a little easier for you to see. But this is kind of what we're looking at here. On the top of my page here, there's a place for the week of, and so this is January, I just said January 1st to 5th, even though that's technically like not that many days. I still included that because I didn't want to, I didn't want to, obviously you see what we're doing here. Then I, along with the day of the week, which I wrote it down wrong because I'm in, it's late. I put next to the day of the week just the date so I can keep track of that. And then I have my check boxes here. So when I work on that project, I put a check next to it. If I really wanted to be super detailed, I could, in parentheses, when I go to write the check, I could write down exactly how far I got. Like, say for example, like if on today, Thursday, if I worked on my temperature blanket, which is under A, I can write in the parentheses like I crocheted, 5 days worth of the calendar for the temperature blanket. I could write 5 days, so if I really want to be detailed, I could do that. I don't know if I'm going to put that pressure on myself because who needs that pressure, right? But the option is there if that's something you would like to do. And then in my bottom here is my legend. So A equals temperature blanket, B is I cords, C is toddler backpack, D is my sunburst bag, which is that granny square thing that you saw in the last one. Evergreen tunic is E, F is dragon, G is mucklucks, H is monkey, and G is rabbits. So another thing I've also done here is, and this will also change throughout the weeks as I work on this, is I will underline in the legend which ones are the quick fasten-offs. So the ones that are close to being finished, I will underline. So my eye looking at this will, if I'm looking at my day, I will look at this and be like, oh, hey, you know what? These are close to being done. Why don't I work on those first? And then I can, once they're done in a sitting, then I can move on to another one. That way it's kind of like I get a small fasten off win every time I work on something. So that's just something I'm working on. So I am going to fill out like the dates and everything. And then I am going to make a separate page just to show you how you can also do this if you're interested, if you don't already get what I'm doing here. Let's go ahead and do that, and I'll see you in a little bit. Alrighty, so once again, here we go. I have my next week laid out. I was going to write all of these out, but my hand started cramping because I never use a pen anymore or a pencil. I never write by hand. So with this, now I think I'm just going to, as I start to approach the weekend, I will write out the next week, because I also realize this legend might change. So I kept this the same from this week because I haven't really finished anything yet, but I have a feeling, and I'm going to be positive here, that this is going to be a shorter list for the following week. So because of that, I have left the next week's blank, but I will go in and write the dates, but only the dates. Like, I'll do this first part and then I'll leave everything blank down here so that I can fill that in. So maybe we'll do with our like WIP check-in, we'll do like an end of the video, like plan with me for next week kind of a thing. I don't know, we'll see. We'll just keep it short, but this is what I have. Again, I've listed my legend here. We have A through I, then we have our row for knit, and then I have the dates, and then I did put a squiggle here to separate so I remind myself that this is my bonus. So if I want to give myself extra credit of working time, I can work on my projects, but there is no pressure. This will just be purely how I feel motivated that day, those 2 days. So this is exciting. Now let's go over how you can do this for yourself. Okay, so please excuse my lighting setup. I am not in one of my permanent locations, so we're making do with what we have. So I've made kind of like a list on how to do this for yourself. First things first, count your WIPs. You saw me do this in the previous video. I went through my every bag that I had, which was only really 2 because I just moved, and I took into account the WIPs that I have. And I was realistic, you know, that might be a time where you decide to frog it or to keep it going. So, you know, be generous with yourself, you know, be realistic. If it's been sitting in your WIP pile for more than a year, you know, just consider, is this worth finishing? Will I get any enjoyment out of finishing it? Or should I just frog it and use the yarn for something else? Super, super simple. So step 1, take account how many WIPs you have. Step 2, create your legend using letters or numbers. Now I use letters in your bottom part. If you have a space for notes on your weekly planner, go ahead and make your legend. So let's say this pretend one, letter A, I'm going to say /1 is, let's say, baby blanket. Maybe that's what you're working on, a baby blanket. And you can write it all out. You can create a cute nickname if you want. Then I put a comma, and then I put the next one. B or 2 is, let's say it is a bumblebee. Let's say bumblebee. We're going with the bees here. Baby blanket and bumblebee. And then let's say maybe you're a really super simple maker and you only have 3 things. Let's say 3C/3. Let's say that is, oh, I don't know, a sweater. Maybe you're making a sweater. This also doesn't have to be crochet or knit. You could do this with any of your DIY projects. So let's do another one. Let's say, okay, D4 is maybe recipe cards. So recipes. Okay, and again, excuse my handwriting. So that's kind of what I do here. And if you were like super organized and you want to be crazy about this, you could put this in like you could color this box, make it highlighted so your eye always goes to that, so you remember what things are, whatever. And then from there, decide on your work pace. So for me, like I said, I'm pretty aggressive about this goal. So I've done 5 days on, 2 days off. You might want to just have 2 days focused and then the rest of your week is whatever, because, you know, maybe you have a different schedule than me. I am a stay-at-home mom, so I have a different schedule than most people. So figure out what your work pace is and make sure you're comfortable with it. Like, are you really going to work on these things the many days that you say you are, or are you really not going to? And this is something you can adjust from week to week, so it is what it is. So decide on your work pace. So let's say for this one right here. If we have Monday through Friday and then the weekend, let's say that I can only work on stuff Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 3 check marks, or 4, because we had 4 check boxes here on Monday, Wednesday, and then Friday. Now, if you want to be extra like me and put your check boxes in the skipped days for your own extra credit, that is up to you. But for me, I'm just going to leave it here. And then I'm always going to label this according to the letters in order: A, B, C, and D. Across the board, A, B, C, and D. Again, A, B, C, and D. So that is laid out. And again, this should be relatively the same week after week, or it could change, and then you can just adjust according to the steps. The next thing we'll do is we're going to fill the dates out. So let's make this an imaginary week. Let's say this is May 6th through the 12th. Okay, let's say that's what it is. So then I'm just gonna, if yours doesn't already have this, if you get a generic one like mine, I would just remind yourself of what day is what. So 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, even on the days that you don't work, just so you can keep track of it, and then 11th and 12th. And that's what I did before. I just kind of did that so I have an overview of my week. And then, we already made our checkbox list, so I guess I skipped ahead. Then WIP time and check-in. So again, every day when you get to this day, kind of look at your thing, look at your spread down here, decide on, hey, I'm really feeling pulled towards the baby blankets. So let's say Monday comes around and you get like three rows done. It's a big baby blanket. Let's say it's for a baby, but it's a big one, right? So I'm going to put my check mark next to A because I worked on it. Even if I just did 3 stitches, I'm still going to put a check on it. And then I'm going to say maybe in parentheses, if I want to, you don't have to. Let's say 3 rows. Okay, and maybe that day, because I could only do 3 rows, maybe I did a sweater, did a little bit of my sweater. So I'm going to check that, and I'm going to say 1 sleeve. So you can do details like that. And then say, for example, let's move ahead. Wednesday comes around, you're really aggressive, and somehow you worked on that baby blanket and it's done. So if it's done, then you just say, you can put in parentheses FO for fasten off. And then from here, I would go ahead and either circle it, underline it, whatever, but you can circle it and then right next to it, put fasten off. Or you can highlight it or whatever, it's really up to you. And again, just to remind you, if you have a project that's a really quick fasten off, something that is on the verge of being done, you can go ahead, like if you've worked on it throughout the week, let's say, for example, let's say Monday you also tackled the bumblebee. So let's put check the B. Monday we did really good. And let's just maybe put in parentheses wings. And because the wings were one of the last pieces, maybe all you have to do is sew things together. Maybe then that means that it's almost done. So maybe that in your head that, okay, I'm almost done with this. So you can go ahead and underline that. So then when we check back in Wednesday, we go to here, we see, oh my God, Wednesday, this bumblebee is close to being done. It's underlined. So maybe that's my focus for Wednesday or Friday. Maybe because I was so aggressive on Wednesday with the baby blanket and it's fastened off, I decided to take a break, dead scroll on Instagram and TikTok and take the night off. And then Friday comes along and you see, oh my gosh, bumblebee, you are almost done. So let's go ahead and check that off the list. We finished it, pretend we finished it. And then again, put next to it, fasten off. And then you can go ahead and then circle that down here because it is done. And that's pretty much how I've kind of organized this. I don't think this is revolutionary. I take a lot of inspiration from bullet journalers and people that do kind of you know, organizing as their profession. But this has so far been motivating for me. I hope this is motivating for you. And, you know, maybe you do this with a friend, and maybe you guys, when you have your weekly meetups, be like, oh, hey, how'd you do? And you can actually tell them, oh, I did this, this, and this. So yeah, so there's that. Let's do some closing thoughts and remarks and talk a little bit. All right, so this is pretty much how I am going to keep track of my projects. I hope you enjoyed that little like tutorial here. I am going to be as true to myself as I can. In the end, at the end of the day, this is really to help me out and to help my future self out. This is not for anybody. Obviously, some people will benefit from me getting these projects done, like my friend who I'm making the rabbits for. You know, that's something I promised them a long time ago, and I'd love to bless them with that and have that on its way. So be kind to yourself. Know that this is one way that you can keep track of yourself if you are someone that wants to make lists and wants to tackle a to-do list. You know, sometimes I think writing it down and not just having it on your phone is a better option than, you know, just assuming that you'll remember what needs to be done in your WIP pile. Thank you so much for joining me, and stay tuned to see how well I do this year, with the first 3 months of the year being my big hit it or quit it WIP extravaganza. I don't even know what to call this. I guess it's like Whipageddon. I don't know, like Armageddon, Whipageddon. Is that what it is? I don't know. This is gonna be fun. So I'm going to go ahead now and sit down and work on something until I get tired. It's about 10:45. I always let myself work hard until midnight, and then I slither on into bed and do it all again tomorrow. On that note, you guys, I'm gonna get started on this and actually using what I just wrote down as a motivational tool for myself. So I hope you all have a creative day, adding magic to your stitches in your own way, and I'll see you in the next tutorial or the next video or the next vlog. Who knows? Bye.